Welcome to FreedomCast, a podcast dedicated to interviewing star icons and entrepreneurs who have encouraged others to become more healthy and active. My name is Ashton, and it's my pleasure to host you as we take another trip through the fitness industry. It's entertaining and informative, and I hope it makes fitness more exciting and special to you in your own fitness journey. FreedomCast is supported by Freedom Fitness Equipment in Charlotte, North Carolina. Freedom Fitness Equipment serves the health and fitness community nationwide, from free weights and strength equipment for home gyms and studios to cardio and conditioning equipment for commercial spaces. Check them out at freedomfitnessequipment.com. Let's get rolling with today's show. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so we're here on FreedomCast with Kevin from Grit Haus. Is that how you say it?
The Grit Haus.
Grit Haus.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
And he's in Charlotte, North Carolina. Wanted to stop by and talk to him a little bit about CrossFit and competing and training for that, and also how he started the gym. But yeah, can you introduce yourself just a little bit and give a little bit of background? We were chatting a little bit before, but yeah.
Absolutely. So Kevin Steinhaus. I am the owner of the Grit Haus. Our affiliate name is CrossFit CLT. Basically, background is I've been doing CrossFit since 2011. Kind of took a little bit of a recess in there when I went to chiropractic school, but then as soon as I graduated chiropractic school, kind of started CrossFit back up, and then started the Grit Haus. Technically, we opened inside here October 2020, but yes, that was during COVID and the pandemic. We did also run outdoor classes from June all the way to October. So, and we did free classes just to get the name out and get people out of their homes and all that stuff. And that was very popular. We were right outside our gym here in the parking lot in the middle of Charlotte summer. And that's, if you know that, and it was crazy. We had people 100 degrees, like still coming out middle of the day, still working out. They just needed to be with people and to work out, and it was awesome to see. Yeah.
So you said you've been doing CrossFit since what, 2010, 2011?
2011, yeah. So I was a collegiate football player, and then after I stopped playing football, obviously just needed that competitive, like something else to put my competitive kind of nature into something, right? And really just found CrossFit through YouTube, right? Oh, really? So yeah, it was an article. So the first ever, I guess, CrossFit workout I've ever done was a movement called 300, or a workout called 300. So it was made by Bobby Maximus, who's a really famous strength coach in Canada. He trained all the actors in 300 to make them ripped and all that good stuff. So I was at that time I was just done. I was doing bodybuilding stuff, getting kind of bored with it, and then I saw it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna try this. Got my butt kicked, right? Took me 30 plus minutes to do, when he put oh yeah, it took my fastest guy 16 minutes. I was like, oh man, I am not fit, right? So it's so I tried it, and then just that got me down a rabbit hole of looking up YouTube of Rich Froning, and then I found Rich Froning, who's the most famous probably CrossFitter besides him and Matt Frazier, and then just kind of got me going. I didn't get into a CrossFit gym until 2014 though, so I was self-taught for first 3 years. I was that weirdo at a global gym, Club Fitness, yep, in the background, trying to do snatches with metal plates and clean and jerks with metal plates and doing kipping pull-ups on a cable machine, and all that stuff. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So it was fun, but it's been an awesome journey, and just the building of just my competitive career, as well as the gym, has just been awesome since 2011. Been a great journey. Yeah. I mean, people definitely needed that during the coronavirus, so that's awesome that you guys were offering that for free. I'm sure that was huge marketing for you guys too, getting the name out there. It was. Yeah, it was. So we had so I was the general manager of a place called Stacks, which was another big CrossFit gym around here. we, the owner sold the land, and this was February of 2020, so like a month before lockdown, right? So I believe it was 2020, right? Is that about time? Yeah.
Yep.
So about a month before lockdown. So he told me this, and then I started looking for spaces because I knew that I wanted to own a gym. So I was like, all right, I have a bunch of people at this gym that have nowhere to go. So we, like, as soon as that, we found a spot pretty quickly within a couple months. And then obviously we didn't do much of like outdoor workouts just because the pandemic, just no one knew anything. We didn't want to like have people super close to each other just to help not spread the virus. But as soon as like they started opening up saying, hey, you're allowed to have like a gathering of 50 people or something like that, we started doing an outdoor workout. And yeah, it allowed the people that we were coaching at Stacks to come over, and then just through that, it started becoming word of mouth of, hey, this gym is hosting free workouts, why don't you come join us? And then like our first class probably started with 2 to 3 people, you know, and then at the end of summer, we were having 20, 25 people in a class. So it was awesome. Yeah.
So what's your membership like these days?
We're right around, we have about 120 people, members. Yeah. So we started with about 40. Yeah. That was what I guess you would call June of 2020. Yeah. So in about a year, we've about tripled.
And is this, just to clarify, this is, do you guys do exclusively CrossFit, or do you do any other sort of like weight training or powerlifting? Anything
yeah,
like that?
The really only other class that we have right now is weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. We host that 3 times a week. We are expanding our space. So we're going to double our workout space. When we do that, we're bringing on a few personal trainers. So we'll do kind of some like sports performance and also just some like youth development, personal training. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned bodybuilding just briefly.
Yes.
And then you also mentioned when we were talking, just you were doing a little bit of competition with CrossFit officially. But can you talk a little bit about that background and like what got you into bodybuilding?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was done with college, right? I played collegiate football. I needed for college football, I had a good amount of weight on me just because I needed it for the position. And it was just not the best weight that I needed.
What were you playing, by the way?
I played tight end for football. Yeah. So, so I weighed around 260 when I played. I compete now in CrossFit right around like 215. So, I was looking for a way to just lose weight, right? And, in high school, I kind of did a little bodybuilding as well. It was just kind of like that was the thing where I lived, right? I grew up in Chicago area. That was kind of the bigger thing out there, was just like getting jacked and getting tan, and and it was just at that time, that's like kind of what I knew besides sports performance. Like I knew how to train to get better at football. The only other way I knew how to train to like get like better looking, I guess, or like body is bodybuilding. So that's what I chose. And then I saw obviously like the people that were doing CrossFit, and I was like, you can look like that and still kind of not do bodybuilding. So that got me intrigued. Yeah.
And then on the competitive side, you said taken a few teams to the semifinals.
Yeah.
So is the goal to get all the way to CrossFit Games?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So this year we were fortunate enough to perform good enough to go to a tournament called the Granite Games, which was the semifinals. So the new season in CrossFit, you basically go through 3 stages before the games. So you do the CrossFit Open, which probably everyone has heard about. It's a worldwide competition. This week it was 3 weeks, and then if you were good enough, you got to go on to a tournament called the quarterfinals. Yeah, so it's just one workout per week. So it's really not too much. Yeah, so you're not doing a bunch of them. Yeah. It's only one workout per week, and then it is scored like per week, so you get to see your rankings up and down, and then we went to quarterfinals as a team, which is the top from the open. They take the top 10% of people, and then from there, just the top 120 teams. The top 80 teams in the U.S. and Canada and Mexico go to these 4 semifinals. And we, out of quarterfinals, we were top 20 teams. So we performed pretty well. We actually surprised ourselves of how well we performed. So it was a fun and exciting year. Yeah.
What does it take to be competitive at that level? What is something that would surprise people to know about that?
Besides a lot of time and a lot of training time, I think what people don't really appreciate is the other 22, 23 hours that you're doing outside of the gym, right? So it's like at that time to be a high competitor, it is, how's your nutrition? How is your recovery? How is your how many hours or how long are you sleeping? How well are you sleeping type of thing? It's because it's not just about putting training hours in, right? So I think that's kind of where a lot of people in CrossFit or people training really get it wrong, is you can put all the hours that you want in training, but if it's crappy hours, right, then it's not worth it, right? So you need to have quality hours of training in to be competitive in CrossFit.
For those games, is it more about the conditioning aspects or about the technical execution of most of the exercises that your guys are going through?
Yeah, so I would say most of the people that are at a higher competitive level, that are going to semifinals, have mostly all the technique that they need, right? So it's mostly at that time just the strength and the conditioning aspect, right? So and there's some things that are part of the sport of CrossFit that people may not realize that is big, like just your rep speed, your speed of transitions from one movement to the other, especially in teams. That's very important too, is how well can you work with your partners to be able to not have downtime in the middle of a workout, right? Someone should be working at all times. Also communication and just all that stuff is huge in the sport of CrossFit for individual and for team. But it is 2 separate sports, I would say, as a team and a individual. Yeah.
Is it, just so people understand how those are structured, is it more of a relay where you're doing one thing, pass it off to the next teammate doing the exact same thing, pass it off to the next person doing the exact same thing?
Yeah, so they have multiple different ways and structures of workouts. A relay is definitely one of the main ones that you'll see. They did a pretty good job in all of the semifinals of having the different structures. So there's this thing called the worm. It's basically just a probably 12-foot long sandbag where you have 4 people on that sandbag. So they'll always have that workout within a team aspect, because that's more about you guys working together. You're working through it, and just you have to communicate, right? The other one is, like you said, the relay, where one person's working through the entire thing, next person goes. Or there could be just everyone's working at basically the same time but doing different things, and you just got to either accumulate the most reps or go through as fast as you can type of thing. Also, it's a strength aspect. There will always be some sort of strength test, right? So this year we had a 1 rep max clean and jerk, 1 rep max snatch as our strength test. Okay. Yeah.
Are the majority of people here going with, or how big is the team that's going to be going to the
So it's a team of 4.
Team of 4, okay.
Yeah, team of 4.
So would you say the majority of people here are training to compete, or they're just training because they're enjoying CrossFit and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I would say the majority of our people are just here to train to just get fit, right?
Okay.
Just because they enjoy the community, they enjoy pushing themselves, and they just like to be active in the world.
What's the for you? What's been the most rewarding aspect of not only running a CrossFit gym, but just being involved in the CrossFit? I don't know. It's a community, honestly.
Absolutely. It's a tough one. Just because there's so many, right? I think for me, this may have changed just because I feel like I've gotten a lot less selfish. If that makes sense. Just from being a competitor, going to being just a competitor to a coach, and then a coach to a manager, then a manager to an owner. For me right now, just the most proud is just the way that our community supports each other, right? And what I love about like what we have grown here at the Grit Haus is you have the people that are the most competitive get just as excited for people that just gotten like their first pull-up, right? Compared to like, and it's not just, and this reciprocal, right? So it's the people that, you know, just started CrossFit are very supportive of our like competitors. And I think that's just shows like great community here. And you don't always see that in other places, but like I think just the way that our competitive people kind of act in front of everyone kind of shows a great example of like how you can be, right? And we have a saying here, kind of be happy and be humble, right? So it's every time you come in the gym, like we just want you to, you know, have a great time, right? Be happy, smile, don't take anything too serious, and then be humble, like just no matter how good you are, how bad you are, like take feedback, have fun with it, and just don't be too serious at this place.
That's a very different mindset than, like you said, some other gyms. So you don't see other CrossFit boxes as competition. You see them as part of the larger CrossFit community. And
yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, I think there has been a lot of other competitive gyms, right? I mean, Charlotte's obviously has had some competitive people in it, right? And we're newer, but I think we've gotten a good amount of competitive people, especially females. We have a lot of competitive females, which is awesome. But I think what has happened, and I think, I'm not saying I'm any different, but I think a lot of owners don't really know how to interact with their competitors and their just normal person that just wants to come in and work out, right? Where for me, I had a kind of big passion of I want everyone to feel included, right? So like if you go to a few other gyms, how their competitors are, they will be in like a corner of the gym or take a little section of the gym and basically do their own stuff and then leave, right? My big thing was if you come into my gym, you, no matter how good you are, you must do class every day to be a part of the community, right? So that's the biggest part of the CrossFit is just being part of class, right? Being present. And it's awesome seeing we have a member who's 78 years old and we have someone that's good enough to go to the games in the same class, doing the same workout, right? And it shows, right? It shows that how great the community is, and that person or anyone that is like that, like respects that, right? They don't feel like, oh, that person thinks they're better than me. No, because they're doing the same thing and they're working out and they're both cheering each other on. Yeah.
Any struggles that you guys had when you were first starting out with the business, or has it been somewhat smooth sailing leading up to this point?
We have been pretty lucky. We have. It's been a good first year. I think just the biggest struggle was we were a little later, or we opened a little bit later than we wanted to, just because construction held up. We didn't pass a few of our inspections. It took a while for the inspections and all that stuff. So when we signed the lease of this place, we thought that we were going to get into the building in like July or August. And we didn't get into it until like middle of October. So the struggle of telling people, hey, we have to still be outside in the middle of July on a blacktop was a little tough, but it just showed how awesome our like members were, because like I said, they showed up every day, no matter if it was 100 degrees out with, 100% humidity, or if it was relatively cold out at 5:30 a.m. Right? They came, they worked their butts off. Now I had to keep telling people to modify slightly, maybe not go as hard in the workout. I was like, bring a lot of water, bring a lot of sweat towels. You're gonna need it. But yeah, we made it work. I mean, we had one of those pod sheds where we had all of our equipment. So every day, Amanda and I would wake up. We would come here a little early before the 5:30 a.m. class. We would get all the equipment out that we needed, kind of set it up, and we ran speakers out of the back of my SUV. Yeah, so we had music and all that stuff, but we made it work, and it was awesome. And like I think it made when we got in here that much more special, because we kind of built up the anticipation, but also the members that were with us outside felt like they were like growing with us or starting with us, right? So it's like they saw the gym from like zero or from ground up, right? So they saw it where the construction was working, and then they saw it starting to get a little bit like nicer and nicer and nicer, and then it's like, oh, your construction's done, now it's time to get in and all that stuff. And it was awesome. It was a great way to start a gym.
For the CrossFit athletes that are going to the Open and the quarterfinals and the semifinals, are you guys working out? You mentioned something about coming here every day. So are they working out 7 days a week? And what's that training program?
So for the competitors, for the higher end competitors, they're usually working 5 main days working out. We do people that usually are like following my program, that's how we do it. It's 5 hard days, so like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday are considered a pretty like high intense or like longer training session. And then Thursdays we will do just I wouldn't call it active recovery, but like an active type of day where you're not touching any weights. You're basically just doing some sort of longer like steady state cardio piece, right? So maybe you're hopping on a bike for 45 to 60 minutes and just kind of flush everything out from the week. And then Sundays I ask people to rest, not do anything. So that's one thing that you'll see in CrossFit is people don't love to rest. They would because it's a sport of just a lot of skill and like you do, and I did the same thing. I mean, when I first started, I was the idiot that worked out 7 days a week as hard as they can, just because like you feel like you need to get better at everything, right? So, but it just gets to a point where you get burnt out, and you need to kind of learn to not do that. And for me, I've learned a lot about just programming and training, and going through chiropractic school, also just learning a lot about energy systems and bioenergetics and stuff like that, just to make sure that most of our athletes stay pretty healthy, but also can perform on those days that we are meant to work out hard is the big thing. So for most people, it's like 5 days of hard work, 2.5 days of rest, I guess you would say, or like one day of full rest, 1 day of like active rest.
I don't know if your programming differs from anybody else's,
Mm-hmm.
but is it all full body on those 5 days you're doing?
For the most part, I mean, I think for anyone that's kind of like in the competitive programming field, they'll do full body just because that's what CrossFit is, right? It's like, but there is section like days where you're like, all right, we're gonna do a little bit more upper body pressing, or today we're gonna do a little bit more like squatting type of thing. So every day is full body for CrossFit. It's just you might have like in the strength piece, you might have a little bit more like upper body or lower body focus. Yeah.
Can you comment for people? There's CrossFit gets a lot of hate on, particularly with like kipping pull-ups and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So there's certain movements and things that are just odd to people. But can you explain some of the mechanics behind that? Why you would recommend that over even say just regular pull-ups, or why CrossFit started to incorporate that early on?
Absolutely. So CrossFit is mostly about getting work done in a short period of time, right? It is hard to do that, like say for pull-ups, is harder to get a metabolic response in the type of workout that we're trying to get through, like a high intense interval training with strict pull-ups, right? Strict pull-ups is something. Now, trust me, we incorporate strict pull-ups all the time, but kipping pull-ups, butterfly pull-ups, right? Whatever, CrossFit pull-ups, whatever you want to call them, they're not trying to be a strength piece, right? And strict pull-ups is a good upper body, full body type of strength developer, and we incorporate that, but it is not a great movement to get a lot of work done in a short period of time, right? So why we do kipping pull-ups is to be able to perform a lot of reps in a short period of time, and basically because of that, we produce a greater like power output, right? That would be like, I sometimes like correlate it to if you were doing a like push press, right? Why are you allowed to use your legs in a push press, but people say, oh, you should only strict press, right? A strict pull-up is a strict press. A kipping pull-up is basically a push press, right? So it's the same thing. You're able to do, now obviously it's not weight, but you're able to move your body weight more times, right, in a shorter period of time, right? So it just allows you to produce more work capacity in a workout.
Sure. Do you find that, I mean, what's the again, just so people are aware, I mean, what is the carryover if you're doing kipping pull-ups versus regular pull-ups? Do you find just over time, the more and more you do, the more regular ones you can do, or?
Yeah, that's hard. I've heard a lot of people say that like to do kipping pull-ups, you should have a certain amount of strict pull-ups or stuff like that. I don't completely agree with that, just because it's two different motions, right? It's like you're using your hips to get yourself over, and sometimes like you're not going to hurt yourself if you're able to hold yourself from a hanging position, right? That's kind of the big thing, is people say, oh, if you can't even do a strict pull-up, you're going to hurt yourself doing a kipping pull-up. No, I mean, I don't think that they really understand biomechanics and the strength of the body, right? It's sometimes like to allow someone the power to be able to do a kipping pull-ups and they'll never be able to do a strict pull-up, right? Just for a mindset aspect of that athlete is huge, right? So is there some carryover? I don't think strength-wise, no. Like obviously if you can do more strict pull-ups, you're going to be a little bit stronger with your upper body pulling, right? So your arms might be less fatigued. But does kipping pull-up correlate to strict pull-ups? No, I don't think so, because kipping pull-ups is mostly hip-driven, right? There's very little pulling strength that you need. It's more just grip strength to be able to hold on to the bar, right? And then you're just using your hips to pop up, and then you're a slight pull of the chin over the bar. But because someone might get a kipping pull-up, that might give them the confidence to finally be able to, build the strength or build the confidence to get a strict pull-up, right? So I don't love I mean, I understand the hate, right? But I think a lot of people are not getting hurt because of kipping pull-ups or anything like that. Or I just think it's a way for people to, maybe if they never able to do a strict pull-up, right, be able to do a pull-up. And then for people that are competitive, they need to be able to do a lot of reps very fast. So it's a way for them to get those reps in very, very fast.
Well, and it's a different sport too, so like the motions are going to be completely different. If you don't, like you said, if you don't do that, you can't be competitive in the game anyway.
Absolutely, and I correlate a lot of that with like CrossFit being a sport where like Olympic lifts, right? Like sometimes we have like a workout that requires 50 power snatches for time, right? I'm not going to have someone that's very competitive do a perfect setup, and hit their hips in a perfect position and do a perfect form snatch if they're doing it for time, right? It's a different sport, like you said. I mean, it's like do I respect Olympic lifting? Do I respect powerlifting? Absolutely. But like CrossFit is its own sport, and now like perfect mechanics don't always transfer to when you're trying to get a lot of work done quickly.
Yeah. You're gonna fall behind. I've heard mixed feedback about folks coming into the sport of CrossFit versus folks who've always trained the sport of CrossFit. Do you find most of your athletes that are going to the Open Games and going to the quarterfinals, semifinals, are they coming from other disciplines, or have they been training in CrossFit for quite some time or since the beginning?
So I think it depends. Like so the CrossFit Open is open to like thousands and thousands of people. So like our majority of our gym actually participates in the Open. From there, the next stage is where you kind of see the more competitive people kind of come out. So I would say the people that are going in the Open, it can be people that have been doing CrossFit for 2 weeks and do it. But people that are going a little bit more in the competitive realm, I think a lot of them have been doing CrossFit for a few years, just because, I mean, there's a learning curve with CrossFit, right? There's very few people that I've ever met that, you know, have done CrossFit for a month and they're like that good, right? And that becomes a special person, right? Or they just had some sort of other training background, right? So maybe they've done like Olympic lifting in the past, right? So they have the technical and body awareness of the Olympic lifts, right? Because, I mean, there's just so much that goes into CrossFit that like to come and be really good at it in a very short period of time is very hard. A lot of our competitors I would say a majority of our competitors have had a sports background, okay, right? So, you know, a lot of females, either like swimming, soccer, you know, basketball or something like that, have played, and a lot of guys. It's really big in CrossFit too, like gymnasts, like especially female gymnasts are very high prevalent in the competitive world. Cheerleaders are very big for females too. Guys a little bit less. It's more like wrestling. Okay. Wrestling has been kind of a big one. Swimming and stuff like that. So few people I know for like soccer, but a lot of like those just because it's a body type too, right? Yeah. So CrossFit competitors, there's a very common body type. There's very few that are like, no offense to smaller people, but you can't be 5'2", 120 and like be very competitive in the sport of CrossFit anymore. You used to be able to, but now kind of the sport has changed. And same thing like being tall. Like you're probably not going to go to the games if you're 6'4", 250 pounds, right? It's just, it's the capacity of being able to do gymnastics and run and all that stuff like requires you to be at a certain body type. Same thing with like weightlifting, right? There's certain weights that most competitors now need to be able to hit. If you're 120 pounds, it's very hard for you to hit, say, a 300-pound snatch, right, or something like that. So I just think it's more dependent on body type right now for competitors than sport background, okay, I would say.
Yeah, so you're not going to find somebody who's like 300 pounds coming from powerlifting doing very well with
not competitive. I mean, they'll be really good in the strength aspect, I'm guessing. Yes. But no, I wouldn't say that you would find like an Eddie Hall coming in and, you know, doing CrossFit. Yeah.
Love to see anybody from Strongman, honestly, just like try. I think I know the Buttery Bros do like cross-discipline stuff like that, but oh my gosh, that would be hilarious.
Yeah, I just saw them do Kai Green.
Seriously?
Yeah, do like a CrossFit workout.
Oh, man.
That'd be so funny I didn't watch it, but I saw it on their like channel. I was like, that would be hilarious because he is a character.
Yeah, no, he is. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, well, and I also, one of the things that somebody else was talking to me about was CrossFitters are more, or I don't know if you find this to be true, CrossFitters are more likely to try different sports disciplines than, say, you know, somebody who's almost exclusively into powerlifting. Like their willingness to transition into other, you know, types of weightlifting or training is a lot higher.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of just CrossFitters either like transferring just to purely like Olympic weightlifting, or they're like, hey, I want to do just purely powerlifting and try this out, or like, hey, I want to do a triathlon, so I'm gonna get into the triathlon world. I think CrossFit's a good just starting point for people to expand their fitness and whatever they want to do, and maybe be competitive. And like, it's a good way to just kind of filter them into something that they really enjoy, because CrossFit does get you, I mean, it gets you fit, right? It is a proven and great fitness kind of structure. So I think just people that come here may enjoy fitness, but then they want to expand it, right? So it's like, hey, like, I've been doing CrossFit for a few years. I have a new goal to try a triathlon, or I have a new goal to, like, hey, I want to squat 500 pounds, so I'm going to go purely into like a squatting program. And we here, like, we want anyone to try out anything that, you know, will keep their fitness up, because that's our main goal, is that we just want people to be active and have fitness as a lifestyle for the rest of their life, and not just, you know, come here for a year and then leave, right? It's like, our ultimate goal is to guide people in the journey of fitness.
Well, and what I think is probably not said clearly enough is CrossFit's adaptable. Like you mentioned, there's a 75-year-old that is still doing the CrossFit exercises. Obviously, he's probably not doing the same intensity or the weight, you know, that everybody else is doing.
Absolutely,
but
yeah.
you know, I'm sure you guys are modifying it for whatever their age is.
Yeah, absolutely. So we program on a daily basis. We have 4 different levels of our workouts, and it is all based off of either your goals or your fitness level, right? So we have a level of like, our level 1, like, is for people that have the aspiration of, like, going to the CrossFit Games, right? So that's our very competitive kind of track. And then we go all the way down to level 4, which is what we call our foundations level, and that is for people that, you know, have very little experience in CrossFit, or just want to come here, want to sweat, and just have fun, right? So there's very little technical lifts. Like, we won't really ever have them do a squat snatch, or we will rarely ever have them do kipping pull-ups, right? If they're doing any sort of pull-ups, it's like a banded strict pull-up or ring rows or something like that. And yeah, like you said, CrossFit is scalable to everyone. So we are able to just have that same type of workout and the intensity of the workout for everyone. Not everyone's not the same for, like, their fitness level, right? So you have to be adaptable as a coach, but also as an athlete, to be able to understand, like, hey, this is the stimulus that we're looking for. This is the movements that we're going to need you to do to hit that stimulus, for you to get the most out of your workout.
I was like asking this about gym owners, but some of the I know it hasn't been a long time for you, but any big success stories that you've seen, people coming in the gym doing a transformation or anything like that?
I don't know. I just, like, we've had so many people that have started from, you know, like, nothing, right? So it's like, have had very little fitness experience, and do I think that, like, body composition has changed for a lot of people? Yes, but, like, for me, I think that's going to take over time, and we haven't had someone that's come in severely, like, overweight and then lost hundreds of pounds. We haven't had that story, but we've had multiple people that have been pretty sedentary in their life come in and just love the community, love working out, and then just, like, being able to perform things that they would never thought that they would do in their life, right? And it's like, that is pretty awesome, of things like when people come tell me, or Amanda, my fiance, who also runs the gym, of like, hey, I got my first this. Hey, I got my first this. I would have never thought this would ever be possible, right? So it's just cool to see that, where it's more about just fitness and getting people fit. It's more about like building people's confidence and like showing their potential as a human being is a lot higher than they think. Right, and that's one big thing that Amanda and I always harp on to each other when we are like talking about coaching or talking to like our coaches, is that like you have to like push people, but you also got to like have the confidence or give them confidence that they are much stronger than they think, right? And I think that's something that we do really well, is like we have confidence in our athletes to be able to perform more than they think. And it's like something that we always have to tell them, like, hey, I trust that you can do this. And it's all safe, right? It's like we are both doctors of chiropractic, so we understand that like we're not going to tell someone to do something that's going to put them in harm. But we can, like, as we watch them move, we can be like, hey, like, I know you can add a little more weight, or hey, I know you can go get a pull-up, like, go try it. And like just forcing them to do stuff, and like, oh my God, I got a PR today without even like thinking I was, or I got a 5 pull-ups today where I've never done one in my life, right? So it's like, it's just cool to see that transformation. And then after they do that, like you just see confidence. You're like, hey, I'm gonna try this. I want to do this. Like, hey, I got a pull-up. Now I want to handstand push-ups. Hey, I got 95 pounds on my squat snatch. I want to get into the 100 pounds, right? So it's like you get that like little bite of fire underneath people's butt, and like then they start trying to get better every day.
I'll touch on something again that you mentioned, which is risk of injury and starting people out at the level that they can maintain and increase over time. So again, CrossFit gets a bad rap here. I think that because it's really easy to open a gym and there's a variety of coaches. There are good ones, there's bad ones. I mean, what is your advice for either, somebody that's just starting a CrossFit gym or somebody just getting into CrossFit to kind of avoid that, or things to look for in a coach that would help them to get over that injury risk?
Yeah, so I think number one is finding a gym that programs well, and this is hard, like, to find that, right? It's just because I do believe that there is a coaching programming problem in CrossFit, where it is too easy for people to become a CrossFit coach, or too easy for people to open a gym. Now, how to make that a solution, I don't know, right? Yeah. Like I have some ideas, but I think that would take a lot longer to talk about. But I think just trying a bunch of places out, and I think just figuring out if that coach is engaged, right, and going through going through the movements that you're doing, and making sure that they're talking about some sort of technique, and that they run their class like everyone in the gym is moving pretty well. Everyone in the gym is pretty consistent. I think that's pretty key. Like if you're going to a gym and there's always going to be one person that's really good, right? So if you have one person that's really good, and then the rest of the class is just not moving well, or they're just very inconsistent and all that, and like the coach tells you, hey, this is our workout, go warm up, we're going to start the clock in 10 minutes, right? That's something that you don't want to see, right? You want to see someone that's very structured, who goes through what the workout is, goes through the movements, right? And like, hey, this is what we're looking for technique. And then especially for someone that's starting out, that coach should pay attention to you and have some sort of scaling options for you. And then let you know. If that person just like, here's a barbell, we're going to do squat snatches, go warm up for squat snatches, that's not what you want, right? You want like, hey, this is like, we're going to do squat snatches as a class. I'm not going to have you do this. I'm going to have you take a PBC. We're going to work on the form of squat snatches while everyone else is like that, right? So it's hard, right? I just, there's not a great way right now to figure out what or where to go, right? For a great CrossFit gym. Like some people might say, hey, read the coach's bio, but coach's bio can be BS, right? Just like, you need to go and see that person in action. And I just think someone that's very engaged, look at the gym. If the class is pretty full, it's a pretty good gym. If most of the people are moving pretty well, it's a pretty good gym.
Well, and I mean, because I guess this is the same issue with any gym that opens, honestly. The barrier to entry is fairly low.
Yeah.
I mean, but at least CrossFit does have a certification to be able to open one. But,
That's true.
you know,
Yes.
I mean, it's, I guess you could argue for more certifications, or you could just argue for, like, audits or something like that. But, you know.
I think, so CrossFit was just bought by a new owner, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we are under new ownership, which I think has been, or I know has been a blessing, right?
Okay, good.
And I think he has a lot of vision that is good, right? And he has a lot of people around him that know how to run a company and how to build a company.
Good.
So I think the future of CrossFit and the affiliates of CrossFit are bright. There's already like ways for like people, for coaches to like get more education, right? So it's so he's providing more coaching education. He's providing affiliates more business coaching, which has been which has been awesome. Yeah, so that's not has ever been in the past. Usually it's been, hey, give us your money, go run your affiliate however you want, type of thing. Now he's kind of building steps to help affiliates run a better business, also coaches to be better coaches, which is awesome. Do I ever see it where you need to have more certifications to open a gym? I don't know. I think that's a hard thing, because I think CrossFit's main thing is just getting as many affiliates open as possible, right? Not just monetary purposes, but also to get as many people moving as they can, right? The more affiliates, the more people are doing fitness or doing CrossFit and getting people healthier. But yeah, I mean, I think the main thing with like the coaching discrepancy between gyms to gyms is a lot of owners may not have like the pure passion of CrossFit, right? And they're not professional coaches themselves, right? They may have a second living where they're handing off their responsibilities of being like a coach to, or being like an owner to someone else, like a general manager, and then that person may never had managing experience in their life, right? So it's just like it's I mean, it's a hard business, right? It's like but a lot of times like with the coaches is that they're like part-time coaches, right? So it's they have other livings, right? So can you expect them to educate themselves at the manner of someone that all they're doing is coaching? No. And like there is room for part-time coaches, right? But I think the person that is running the show in the gym needs to be like a full-time coach, meaning that they are putting everything that they can become the best coach, right? And I think when you do that, and you keep all your coaches pretty consistent of how to run a class properly, then I think that like the consistency of coaching like builds up.
And they get that experience over time as well, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. Where can people find you and the Grit Haus, and if they wanted to swing by in Charlotte?
Absolutely. So we are located in Madison Park area, so just outside South End. We are at basically Madison Corners is the building where, if you know, on South and Tryon. And you can locate us on our website, thegrithaus.com. We also have an Instagram at the Grit Haus. That's house is Haus. That is after my last name. Yes. So, so Haus, the Grit Haus. No, we are not a breakfast joint. We are a we are a CrossFit gym. I've had that a few times. Yeah. But yeah, at thegrithaus.com. If you want to look at me at all, I have a very boring Instagram, but you can look me up. It's at Dr. Kevin Steinhaus. But yeah, the best way to contact us would be Instagram. Just if you ever want to drop in, kind of know a little bit more about us, or schedule a time to come in, just message us through Instagram. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah. Take care, man.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please give FreedomCast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean a lot to our business. Plus, it's fun to read y'all's reviews. See you next time.